Well, folks, thank you for joining us. We're still going to wait for a few minutes here to try to build up the participants in the audience a little bit, but just a quick run through. We are trying to build this community. So if there's anything that you could do word of mouth or just stick around at the end, we're trying to encourage folks to see both presentations. We get some great speakers. We got Grant Quick of Tableau, who's going to be talking to us about APIs, and he is also a triathlete. I just got that out of him. So also Azad, Tableau featured author from CoreLogic, going to be talking about Viz of the Day and everything that he has going on, showcasing I believe it is called Makeover Monday. So if you just join us, that's in a few more minutes. Just hang in there. Gonna play a little bit more music, star set of stuff, but a couple more minutes, we'll be with you.
Hello, welcome everyone.
So Kara, we're gonna get this going. We have a panel today, Grant Quick and Azad Jivani. We also have Caroline Yam on, and myself, Roger Wilkins. I'm from Boston. That is not an Adelaide accent. I like to make fun of me constantly over that. You can see my email up there if you have any questions about how we could do better on the show. This presentation is important to the community building. And also to that point, we are giving away 3 $100 Tableau store gift cards. So hang in to the end, please. It could benefit you greatly. The other thing is word of mouth. Tell folks about what you saw today and how to get involved in their local community, Tableau community user group. We'll kick it right off, Kara. I do want to introduce Kara Stevens, who has organized, done all this work of DataSpark. How are you, Kara?
Good. Thanks, Rog. Thanks for the introduction and welcome everyone. We're really excited. The last Tableau user group for the year for Adelaide. As Roger said, stick around to the end. We've got a couple of gift cards to give away. So you've got to be here to get it. So make sure you stick around then. But let's get into it. Roger, I'll get you to introduce our speakers.
Yes. So what I do want to do, though, is if you have any questions, the best way to do this is to engage the Q&A box. We tend to forget about that part. We just kind of stay silent. Don't stay silent. Help the conversation go with your input, or if you have accolades for the presenters. We had some great presenters actually today. So I want to introduce, if you will, a Tableau featured author, Azad Jivani. I hope I'm saying that right, Azad. An avid cricketer, as I have read on his profile. I'm a baseball player, so I won't even engage that. But the fact is he has a great presentation today. Viz of the Day. Dive down on Tableau's data features that they like to show with the best practices, and I think Azad's going to go into what he does to engage Viz of the Day. And if you have anything you want to follow, he showcases Makeover Mondays, hashtag Makeover Monday. Azad, kick it off.
Awesome.
Thank you, Roger, for a kind introduction. Welcome, everybody. Let me just share my screen. And yeah, just to start with, cricket is quite similar to baseball. It's just cricket is like more internationally recognized and played by more countries. Yeah, so let me just start. I hope you can hear me okay.
I don't know what happened here.
Can you share? Can you see my screen?
Yes, can see that. Excellent.
Okay.
Let us know in the chat, guys, if that's not coming through. Awesome.
Okay, so as you know, I'm going to recreate one of my featured views in this presentation. Before I just start and jump onto Tableau, I would like to share a couple of website and Twitter channel from which I take most inspiration from. So let me quickly just show you guys. So the first one is Tableau Public. And I want to show you where actually those views of the day are published. So as you can see, the Tableau Public website, if you go to the Discover tab here, and so here, basically, you can see all the views of the day and fun stuff published by Tableau. So yeah, as you can see, there's already one here. Somebody created Tina Corelli created this about Squid Games. I won't go into the detail. I will actually let you guys explore it in your own time.
I have to
You
check that one out.
You can also subscribe to Views of the Day, and what happens is Tableau can then email you the link. So if you would like to do that, you can do that as well. Yeah, let me just quickly show you all the other Views of the Days. This is quite inspirational, actually. So I do recommend you guys to subscribe to it or frequently visit this space. The other inspiration I got is from Makeover Monday. So what is Makeover Monday is there are like around 300 data sets publicly available. You can download the data sets and play around and create a visualization out of it. It's quite simple. You can create something in an hour or two. And if you want some inspiration, there's a gallery as well. You can see some example what people have created. It's starting from 2017 to up to here. So yeah, I do recommend you explore this space. I've learned a lot from Makeover Monday. All the visualization I have published on my profile are from Makeover Monday. There are some Twitter channels I do turn into for the inspiration. Obviously, starting with Tableau Public. Yeah, please browse through, follow Tableau Public. Obviously, Makeover Monday. And also, there are a few other community which I turn into. One is Startup Hemp. It's a quite active community, and everyone is more than eager to help. So if you have any question, yeah, please feel free to ask in any of those channels. And lastly, if you are in database domain and Tableau is your preferred tool, I highly recommend you to open a Tableau Public account if you haven't already done so. What Tableau Public is, it's a free account. You can open it. It lets you post your visualization. You can create your own profile. And you can share with all those social media channels, or you can connect to other Tableau authors. There are, I think, million of Tableau authors around the world you can connect to and take the inspiration from. Yeah, as you see, I have connected some over 200 authors. And you can also like some of their work, and what it does, it just saves in your favorites. You can turn into any of their work. You can reverse engineer, download the workbook, learn from it. So yeah, please explore this world. It's life-changing, certainly for me. I can say that from my experience. So yeah, so I just wanted to start with that. Now let's just start with visualizing. Let me actually quickly show you what we are going to create today. So this is the visualization that was featured in Tableau Gallery. So what I'm trying to visualize here is percentage of women in national parliament by country and by year. So each dots you see here represent one country. I'm also showing the world average as like a white dot. So it's a very simple visualization. I haven't used so many colors here. So design, just to talk about the design inspiration for this one. So when I was visualizing this visualization, I actually visualize myself doing some kind of a science experiment, in a lab where I have a bucket and I have some like round balls I have put on the bucket, and I've done some kind of explosion in the floor. And in that bucket, if those balls like started coming out slowly, and if I taken a picture on a regular time interval, how will it look? So yeah, that is the vision behind it, and that's my inspiration to create this visualization. So let's look at the data set I used to create that visualization. So this was the data set provided by Nick over Monday. So as you can see, there's one measure we're dealing with, the percentage of women in national parliament. We have here, if I look at it, okay, that is starting from 1997 up to all the way up to 2019. We also have a list of countries here. So looks like it's all the countries in the world. As I browse through, yeah, I also noticed there's also different, you can see the world percentage also given, which is going to be handy when we create it. So it's a good thing. It's going to be useful. So let's just begin our journey. So I will just drag this data set into Tableau. And let's just begin. I just create an extract. I'll just give it a name. Okay, so whenever I start creating any visualization, so here we are dealing with just one measure and 2-3 dimension. So what I normally do is I actually let Tableau suggest me any type of chart type initially. So as you know, there's only one measure you're dealing with. I just double click that. So Tableau has suggested me for that we can use a bar chart, which is fine. And I want to visualize when I was browsing the data, I saw that, okay, they have provided me data all the way from 1997 up to 2019. So I have to use that time element to it. So as soon as I double click on here, you can see that as it is a time series, Tableau has suggested me that most appropriate chart type is line, which is great. So I actually want to visualize each and every country. I just don't want like so summarized view. So let me try and drag the country into detail and see what happens. Wow, so this looks like spaghetti. This is not what we want. Let me see if I can make it better in any way. So what if I just use that country name and as a highlighter? Let's just try to visualize. So immediately I can see there's some kind of a story. You can see the individual country, how they have started in early 1997 and how the journey is towards the gender equality. But still, it's a bit annoying to, select each and every country and see their journey. And as soon as you deselect it, it's just all over the place. It's so hard to visualize. So whenever I actually create a visualization, I try to create such a way that if you take a picture of that visualization, it should convey some kind of a message without user needing to interact with it. So this is definitely not there. And I normally create my visualization in stages and steps. So whenever I hit any roadblock, I just park that idea and move on to different types or different chart type or mark type. So I will actually stop here and I will call it a line. And I don't want to actually explore this type. So I will actually move on to a different chart type. So the next most basic chart type, which I turn to in most of my visualization is, if it's not line, then it must be a bar. So let me see if that can help here. I'll call it a bar. Okay, so this is, I don't think of any better. So before we move forward, actually I will, so this is actually in percentage. So what I will do is I will tell Tableau that this is a percentage. So every time I use that measure, it will show me as a percentage. So now if you see the bar chart, I feel that I've gone backwards here because it has turned into like some kind of a stack bar chart. Now you can't even tell what percentage each country is in because it just aggregated all those percentage. So this is even worse. So definitely this is not where I want to head. So I will move on to the other type. So what I have experienced after like creating 70 odd visualization is whenever I'm dealing with any data set that has a categories list so big, for instance, here we have like countries and we are dealing with like 100 or 150 countries. What I found out is the most suitable mark type for those kind of visualization. And if I want to visualize it as a whole, I want to show each and every category, then the most suitable is, I think, a circle or a dot plot. So let me try that. Here, I call it. So this one, I think we are heading in some kind of a right direction. It's getting better. So now you can see that each and every dot represent a single country. You can still do what you were able to do in lines. You can see the journey, individual journey. So this is definitely a chart that I want to explore a little bit of more. So we'll definitely use this. So I'll call it as a mini milestone, and I'll move on and explore this chart type further. So now if I remember when I was browsing the data set, I actually saw we have been provided a world average as well, which is actually very handy. And it's clearly say okay, there is some kind of improvement here over time. So I want to actually show this world average all the time. So what I will do here is how can we do that? So let me I'll call it world percentage. It's a simple calculator I will make. So I will use that. Okay, so now I will change that percentage as well. Okay, I want this in the same chart though. So what we can do is we can combine by doing a dual axis. So now Tableau automatically assign a different color to world average. So, but as you can see that percentage are not synchronized. So I will synchronize percentage. So now you can see that world average is shown permanently. I will hide this right side. So now basically we are heading in the right direction. But this list of countries are very big, and especially from 0 to 20%, there are so many countries. So there's definitely countries are overlapping each other here. So what I want to do is I want to actually spread it across horizontally. So there is actually one way of doing it. Let me move on to the and then let me create a new calculator field. So that plot is actually called a jitter plot when you are randomly assigning an axis. So I will create a calculator field called jitter. There is a Tableau function called random. What this random function does is it's actually assign a value from 0 to 1 randomly to your category. So I will use that random function to update my year calculation. Let me just add to start with. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay, what happened here is because it's decimal, Tableau thinks this as a measure, but we want to use that as a year dimension, not measure. What I will do is I will change it to dimension. So now, as you can see, is now it is spread across, but still this is not what I exactly wanted. I want some kind of white space or breather after each year. So let me just try one thing here. Let me make it that random jitter a little bit narrow. Let me just divide by 3 and see. So yeah, this is definitely better. So now if I see it, I see this, I can see a couple of problems here. So one is obviously, because I'm adding all these dots are right aligned. So I want to make it centrally aligned. So let's just update this calculation a little bit. So what I can do is I can add a condition and check if the jitter is less than 0.5. Then I'm going to add as I will subtract. So now if you see that it's now centrally aligned and it looks much better. But I can see another problem here. If you see that orange dot, that is also like random and all over the place horizontally. So for that world average, I actually want it in the center all the time. So how, let me do that. So let me check on with country name is world. If country name is world, then I don't want to use jitter. I will use normal year dimension. For all the other countries, I will use the jitter that we just created. So now that is centrally aligned. So now I think we are pretty much there. So now I think I am pretty close to what I initially visualized. So now it's just a matter of making it a little bit pretty. So I will use it, different colors. So let me actually show you a Tableau cool feature, which I actually like. And I use it to open. Okay, I want to use the color of this. as my background, and I don't know what color it is. So Tableau actually has this nice cool feature. You can pick a color from screen, and it will automatically assign that color code to you, which is actually very cool to use. Okay, so now this black background, I definitely don't want this blue and orange. So I have ended up with this lighter color for my countries, and I will use gray for world average. Let's see how it looks. A little bit better. So whenever I use a circle, a dot, I always reduce its opacity. So you can see that overlapping dot clearly. But as I done that, I can't see that word dot very clearly. So I will actually make it a little bit lighter, so it pops. I will also change, increase its opacity a little bit, and also make it a little bit bigger. And make this a little bit small. Okay. Now I don't want all this grid line, so I will get rid of those. No tick mark and 0 lines. And I can't see those axis text, so I will change their color to green as well. And I'll change the font to what I had used. Okay. So whenever I use any visualization with percentage, I try to show it all the way to 100, just so that people don't interpret that any top category is like closer to 100%. So I will keep a little bit of room as a starting. I will have an interval of 20%. So now if I see it, I think it will be good to have a grid line. So I will assign grid line, but I don't want it to appear that strong. So I'll just keep it to very faint in the background. So yeah, this now started to look better. We'll get rid of this title, it's not required. So I think now it's ready for us to start putting into the dashboard. I'm not sure how are we looking at time. Do we have some time?
I think we're just running just slightly over time. So yeah, I think another couple of minutes, Azad.
Okay, so I will be very
we'll wrap
quick.
this up.
Okay, so let me just create it very quick. All right.
So just as Azad is going through this, guys, as we're just wrapping this one up, feel free to leave any questions in the chat, any comments as well while we're doing this.
It seems that Tableau, in order to choose Visit of the Day, is looking for timely, trendy, or topical insights. Isn't that right, Kara?
Yeah, definitely. I think what Azad's showing us here is excellent, and it's right to the point.
So I have a header on top. Let me change this color, what I wanted. I think this actually might take a few minutes. So
Excellent.
I think we can, yeah, I think so this is it. So I think placing it into the dashboard is not that, there's nothing much to showcase on that. So
Sure.
This is the main sheet, and this was the main part I wanted to actually create and showcase. So this is
Excellent.
how it looks like. So in terms of putting it into the dashboard, is just no-brainer here. So we have a sheet in the middle. On top, we have a header, and yeah, it's quite simple.
Azad, well done. That's great.
All
Any
right.
questions? I don't see any. So I think
No, I think that's okay. Yeah, I think we might leave it there for today, Azad. Well done. That's excellent. I think, yeah, I think a few of us learnt a couple of tips and tricks in there as well of different things you can do. So that's excellent.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity to present in front of you guys, and I hope you have found it worthwhile.
That was great. It was great. Azad, Jivani, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. On to Grant Quick. Grant's Tableau lead solution engineer, and as I have learned, a triathlete. I appreciate him not finding enough time, as he said, and I think we all are struggling with that there, Grant. But you're out of ISO and on your way. Welcome.
Things are looking much better. Thank you, Roger. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks everyone for coming today. It's great to see such a big crowd coming to our virtual events. So I hope that you've all learnt something from Azad, and hopefully I can teach you a thing or two as well.
Talking APIs, right?
Absolutely. So exploring Tableau's APIs is where we're at. And just to jump in, I guess, one of the big questions that we often get is, well, does Tableau have an API? And the answer is to that, well, we don't just have one, we've actually got many. And this graphic here shows you an overview of all the different API areas that we have and the different APIs that support them. So there's generally 5 areas that we look at. Firstly, we look at automation and integration, especially when you're looking at automating admin tasks and things of that nature. We look at extensibility and putting other applications basically into Tableau. We also look at advanced analytics, where we allow you to call functions from Python, R, and various other languages, which allows you to bring in some really rich functionalities, especially around machine learning and statistical analysis. And then we've also got embedding functionality to put Tableau content into other applications. Very commonly, a lot of organizations will embed Tableau in different web portals that they expose either publicly or to their internal employees. And so that's a very common use case. We also support a mobile app bootstrap, which is basically just a framework for building new mobile apps. And then finally, we've got our data connectivity section, which allows you to access data that's in Tableau and also build connectors to data that maybe Tableau doesn't already have. So as you're probably aware, there's over 50 connectors that come with Tableau out of the box. But if you have, for example, a legacy database, you might be keen on building your own connector so that you can get that data in the format that you would like. Now, that's obviously a lot of information and way more than we can cover in our 15 to 20 minutes today. So we are going to focus primarily on 3 areas. Firstly, we'll look at the Extensions API and how you can take advantage of that. And then we'll look at the REST API. Now, the REST API is listed in 2 different sections. That's just because it's 2 different use cases, but it's the same API. And we'll also look at Tableau Server Client, TSC, which is just a Python wrapper that goes around the REST API, makes it even easier to use if you are using Python. Now, if you want to know anything more about what we're looking at today or any of the other APIs that we're not covering, have a look at that URL down the bottom, developer.tableau.com, and you'll be able to find a ton of information in there. Now, with Tableau's Extensions API, as I mentioned, that allows you to bring other applications into Tableau, and it allows you to have bidirectional communication between Tableau and that application. The other application has to be hosted somewhere on a web server, and Tableau basically embeds it in. So in a dashboard, it just looks like it's another Tableau component. If it's well designed, end users will have no idea that that's not actually a natively built piece of Tableau. If you have a look at this image that we have down the bottom, you can see that there's a radar plot or a sometimes called a polar chart. Now, you can build these in Tableau, but they're not that easy to build. However, you can get extensions from our gallery that make it extremely easy. They basically build it for you. You've just got to provide what it is that you're hooking up to it in terms of parameters. And as you can see from the visualization here, whenever you apply filters from other parts of Tableau, those filters can be applied there, or it can also work the other way around. So it's completely interactive between the two. Now, with the Extensions API, it is one of our newer APIs. So it works in 2018.2 or later, but hopefully you're all up to there or pretty close to it by now. In terms of the products, anywhere where you can access Tableau dashboards, so that's either in Tableau desktop, server, or online. And in terms of languages, you need to use JavaScript to work with this particular API. Now, what can you do with that? Well, obviously, new visualization types is one area. We just saw that in the previous graphic, but there's loads of other things that you can do with this Extensions API as well. And I'll take you to the gallery in a minute and show you where you can find these things. But things like machine learning predictions, we have our own extension called Einstein Discovery that you can use for that. And there's also various other tools available through the gallery. You can do custom data exports to any kind of format that you can imagine. Performance testing, governance testing as well, different tools that allow you to look at how your visualizations are performing and the overall structure of the dashboard. Natural language generation is a really interesting one because it allows you to basically describe what you see in a chart with text. And as you can imagine, if you're working with any kind of user that may not have the same level of data literacy as you'd expect in a forum like today, then it might be a good use for them. Or even someone who's vision impaired, who can't see the chart properly, might be able to get good insights by using that natural language generation. You can create all kinds of data alerts. Obviously, we support a lot of those in Tableau already, but if you want to do SMS, for example, you could do that through an extension. You can use dynamic parameters that use the underlying data set to update values, or you can create custom filters that go beyond the scope of what you can do in Tableau. So really, it's only limited by your imagination as to what you can do. Now, I'm going to jump into Tableau Desktop very quickly. I think someone mentioned before the Superstore dataset is one that's very commonly used, but obviously using Makeover Monday, there's lots of other datasets out there, but internally we use this one all the time. So you can actually grab this dashboard if it's of interest to you. It comes with Tableau. Now, what I'm going to do is come down to Extension, and I'll drag that across over into my visualization. And when I do, it will bring up the extensions gallery. Now, with the extensions gallery, these are all of the extensions that people have built and then vetted through Tableau. So they have to go through a process where they submit, here's our web application, here's what it does, and we take a look at it, and if it's all above board, then we list it in our gallery here. And so you can see all the different categories across the top, things like advanced analytics. So you're seeing all the different AI capabilities there. You might look at custom filters. A lot of our newer filter functionality actually goes through this before it gets released. So some of these are actually available now in product, but we still have them here for older versions of Tableau. You might see things like newer viz types. A lot of our partners build these for their clients. And there's some really good examples there. Or it might be things like writing and exporting data to those different formats that you might have in mind. Now, with these extensions, some of them are free, others are commercially driven, so you do need to pay for them. If you only want to get free ones, there is a filter here for that. So you can filter down and see exactly which ones are free in which categories. You can also see if you just want to see the ones that are built by Tableau or Salesforce, you can find those there as well. What I actually want to do today is bring in an extension which is under development. So if it's under development and it's not in the gallery, the way to do that is to come into Access Local Extensions. And what you need to have in order to do that is a T-Rex file. So a T-Rex file it's called a manifest file. Anyone who's been in web programming will know about those, but it's basically just a file that points to the web server where the application is hosted. And so I'm actually hosting this one on my local computer, and I'll just open that T-Rex file. And that will then load this particular visualization in my dashboard. And so this one actually pulls in a custom data set. So it's not pulling data that's already in the dashboard. And so it's using Tableau to generate that visualization. And it allows you to then customize things like the palette or the mark type. So just one example that we include in our community that you can download and play around with yourselves. Now, for anyone who's a bit more technical and wants to get into actually writing their own extensions, a quick primer on that. As I mentioned, you need to have a structure that basically includes a T-Rex file, and you need to have a web server that's going to host your application. So those are the two main things. But in terms of what the application looks like on the web server, it needs to have our extensions API library, which you can download from developer.tableau.com. And it needs to also contain a web page that references that particular library file, as well as any other JavaScript files that provide logic that you might need in your extension application. So there's tons of information, like I said, on our development site. If that's something of interest to you, by all means, take a look and use some of the samples that we have in there to get up to speed. That's the website once again, developer.tableau.com. Now, just quickly, I did want to run through the REST API as well. If you've used a REST API before, you'll know that they're very commonly used for any kind of general purpose API. It's the most common protocol and has been for probably the last 10 to 15 years. And it's a stateless protocol, which I won't go into what that means, but it makes it really easy to figure out any issues that it might have. Protocols before REST tended to be stateful, and they could basically get themselves into a state, which was hard to get out of. So REST makes a lot of that much easier. When you call a REST endpoint, as it's known, you basically provide a URL and you provide a verb. So the 4 verbs that you would typically provide are get, post, put, and delete. Get is used for querying information, post for creating or publishing new resources, put to update existing records, and then delete if there's something that you want to remove. Now, Tableau's REST API, as I mentioned, is primarily focused on admin. So it helps you to provision, set permissions, and also publish data. It's been available for a very long time, since Tableau 9. So really any version of Tableau that you could imagine on the market today is probably going to be compatible. There are different versions of the API, however. So if you want to use some of the newer functionality that we've brought out, make sure you're using a newer version, but also make sure that the version that you're using is compatible with your server. Now, because REST is so widely used across all programming languages, you can use just about any modern programming language when writing any kind of script or program that uses the REST API. But of course, as I mentioned, Python is a really good one if you haven't got a preference, simply because we do have a library that allows you to wrap a lot of this functionality into some easier methods. Now, I've got some of the use cases up there. Once again, there's many more you could imagine, but anything around automating the setup of new users or servers, getting content published. So for example, if you have someone sending you an Excel file regularly, rather than manually uploading it, you might have a batch job or a script that's basically pushing that out to server on a regular basis. Or you might have things like admin tasks, which you might do through TSM, but maybe you've got users that need to perform those who don't have access to TSM or are simply overwhelmed by the amount of functionality that's there. So you can give them a more purpose-built custom portal. Now with REST, you need to provide an endpoint. So I'm looking at the user's endpoint here, and you can see that's just a URL. It's custom coded to your server. So you need to make sure your server's URL is built into that. You specify your API version, and you also need to specify the site. If the endpoint that you're using relates to sites, users depend on the site. So obviously they need to be within the site section. Like I said before, the get verb is for querying. So if you do want to get all the users, all you need to do is call that URL with the get verb, and that will return all users. But for example, if you don't want all users and you just want a subset, you can also filter things. So you can add in a question mark, which then lets you put in a filter expression. If you've got other expressions, you can add ampersands as well. So it's really flexible with how you can specify exactly what it is that you want. Now, if you're using a post method to create a user, you also need to provide a body. The body contains information about that user, because if we just call the URL with the post method, the first thing Tableau is going to think is, well, I could create a user, but what's the user's name? What's their site role, and so forth. And so you can specify these things through the body. The body can be in XML format like it is here. You can also use JSON if you prefer that format. But either way, you just need to specify exactly what those different parameters are that define the user. As for update and delete, they do also require, I should say, the put method requires a body as well. So you do need to specify what the new details are that you're updating. But the other thing of note is that you need to specify the user ID in the URL. And so you can do that with both of those methods. Delete will simply remove the user altogether. However, you can't delete a user in Tableau if they already have content that they own. And so if you're doing that manually through Tableau, you basically just have to assign everything they own to another user. Or if you're going to do it through the API, there's actually an option you can provide, which is map assets to. And that will allow you to very easily just map everything that that user owns to another user, and then automatically delete them once that's done. With the REST API, it's always important with any scripting that you write to check for common error codes. There's about 100 different error codes altogether that are worth looking at. depending on exactly what you're doing. But that way you can catch if there's any issues and make sure that you address those before responding back to the user that you've successfully done something. TSC, I won't go into much detail, but it is a Python wrapper that goes around the REST API that works with Python 3.5 or above. It supports nearly all of the REST API methods. There are a few obscure ones it doesn't, but for the most part, you don't have to worry about that. I won't talk about pagination, but if you do know what that is, it makes it really simple. And that's one of the biggest benefits of using this library. One little caution though, just make sure that the version of TSC is compatible with the Tableau server version. That's really important because it's not like just calling REST directly, where you just specify the version you want to use in the URL. It's a matter of installing the right library. And that's just some example Python code. If you're doing that, you basically just need to import the TSC library, Tableau Server Client, and then you can start calling that object to do all the different operations, just like you would using the REST API. The biggest advantage, other than pagination, is just that you don't have to write any of the setup infrastructure code for actually using REST, and that can be a big time saver. So that's all I had for you today. If there's any questions, like Roger said, please do throw them into the chat window and I'll be happy to address them. But otherwise, back over to you, Roger.
Well, thanks a lot. I just want to thank everyone, Azad, yourself, Caroline. Kira is about to make great announcements here, but I just want to thank everybody on behalf. I learned a lot between you guys, and I always learn a lot every quarter when we have these things. Kira, I'll let you update folks on what's going on.
Excellent. I might just grab the screen again, Grant.
Go for it.
Done. Beautiful. Excellent. So thank you so much, Grant and Azad, for your presentations today. No, we're just at over 2 o'clock now, so I appreciate everyone hanging on. As we said, we just wanted to wrap things up now. Thanks again, everyone, for coming. If you'd like to get involved, please reach out to either myself or Roger. We'd be very keen to have some more of you come along and present at some of our future user groups. We'll be planning for one in Feb next year. Once everyone's back from their holidays. So we'll do that then. But yeah, I know that everyone was also waiting for the giveaway for some prizes. So we can do that now. We've randomly selected 3 people from the attendees today. So hopefully they're all still around. And if you can just send through a message in the chat if you are still here and to claim your prize, and we can send that through by email. So the prize today, we've got 3 $100 gift cards for the Tableau swag store to get some merchandise. You can get some hats, t-shirts, you can get a mug, coffee cup, anything you like from there. So you've got $100 to spend. So congratulations, Melissa Dyson, Rob Nergerman and Sven Peterson. Congratulations to the 3 of you today.
All right, well, that's going to be it, everybody. Please email if you have any questions. As we say at DataSpark, we like to put the insights into action. So everybody has a little bit of information today to be just a little bit more dangerous. Okay, well, we'll see everybody soon in February. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's it for today. We're going to